Hey there.
Hello,
How are you? Thank you for your time tonight. I'm Danny. Nice to meet you.
I'm Laverne. Nice to meet you. I was sitting here staring at myself in the camera for about 4 minutes. I didn't know anybody else was coming. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
usually
I
start.
wanted to log in on time, or early rather, just to make sure that the audio and all that stuff works okay.
It's always a trick.
Exactly, yeah.
Trick.
But I appreciate you all doing these on Zoom. I say that on behalf of all working parents. My wife is putting our son to bed right now and
Oh
hopefully
yeah,
joining us later, but saves us a sitter and some time. So thank you for the
that's
flexibility there.
true. Do it in the. It's been very good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a lot easier for everybody, I'm sure.
I don't know where everybody is. There's usually a group. There's probably not going to be anybody but the board tonight and you.
Yeah,
I mean,
I believe my general contractor was going to join also, but we'll keep him on mute. He just wanted to be here in case there are any questions on like
question.
yeah, like structural issues or anything like that.
How long have you been in this house?
We bought 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Okay.
Hmm.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's beautiful. We love Dover. People have been wonderful, very welcoming, down to earth, etc. So we've been very pleased with it.
Good.
And
Yeah,
then
it's a nice.
unknowing, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a nice place.
Yeah,
Dover.
it's beautiful. Yeah. And we had, of course, no idea that we would both end up working from home. So it ended up being really a blessing.
That's hard. I would say that was hard, but with a baby too, or son. I don't know how old he is, but
Yeah, he'll be 2 in January. So it
oh yeah,
keeps us plenty busy running around.
definitely.
Okay, so before we start the hearing, I just wanted to say to everybody, I did send around some emails this afternoon on the 40B for Trout Brook. We got some additional materials submitted, and so I circulated those by email. There are some hard copies of drawings that are probably too bulky for Felicia to mail out to everybody. So at some point, each of the board members needs to stop in at the town clerk's office and pick up their copy of the drawings.
Will do.
Um,
Okay.
Okay, so let's get started. The meeting is being recorded. We have one matter on the agenda, and that's a hearing on an application by Daniel Cook for relief relating to his property at 30 Haven Street. Mr. Cook, welcome.
Thank you.
I wanted to just briefly explain the procedure. You get to present to the board members whatever information you think we should consider in deciding whether to grant the relief you're requesting. Once you've presented your information, we will ask you questions to the extent we have any. We will have discussion of the issues. If anybody else joins in, sometimes members of the public attend. If they have any interest, they will be offered an opportunity to speak. Once all of that discussion is concluded, we will close the hearing. And after the hearing closes, the members of the board will discuss the issues and then take a vote. And normally at that point of the process, there's no further input from you or anyone else. Although we may have a couple questions for you, we'll see. So this is a hearing on an application of Daniel Cook of 30 Haven Street, Dover, Mass, for a variance to construct an addition to a pre-existing non-conforming structure at 30 Haven Street in Dover. Normally at the beginning of the hearing, unless it's waived, we have to read the notice of hearing, but if there's no objection, the reading of the notice can be waived. Is there any objection?
No.
Hearing none, the reading of the notice of hearing is waived. So, Mr. Cook, you're welcome to share with us any information you think we need to know in order to reach a decision on your application.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan, and thanks everybody for joining tonight. I appreciate your time and your consideration of my request for a variance. I'm going to try to share my screen here. All right, excellent. So I can start by looking at the survey, and I'll explain sort of what we're trying to do and why we want to do it. So firstly, zooming way out, I guess no pun intended on Zoom, the 30,000-foot view is that our lot is very tall and very skinny. And so not surprisingly, the side lot setbacks can get a little bit tricky. And so this is not the first time that a resident of 30 Haven Street has been before this board. And so now I will zoom in and talk a little bit about what we're trying to do here. So this is the garage. The existing garage, the back corner of it is 28.3 feet away as opposed to the required 30. That was accomplished via a variance that the prior homeowners got in 2014. What we are trying to do and what we're asking permission to do is to put on a small addition to the rear of the garage. This is 7 feet back, extending straight along the side of the garage. Because the side of the garage and the lot line are not perfectly parallel, our proposed addition would end up being 28.1 as opposed to 30 feet from the lot line, hence all of us being here tonight. So I think it is relevant that on this side of the property, there's a very large row of mature eastern hemlock, so mature evergreen trees. And on this side, there's a lot of trees and woods as well. And so not surprisingly, the neighbors on both sides, as well as across the street, support this and signed a letter that I submitted saying that they would not object to any grant of variance from this board. So that's what we're trying to do. Why are we trying to do it? In a nutshell, we feel like it will improve the safety of our home for our growing family in a few ways. Number one, my wife and I both work a lot of hours, and whoever is cooking also generally is watching our almost 2-year-old son. And so this is the kitchen. It's a galley kitchen. I wish I could say that our son would behave himself and stay in this little corner and play. There's a table here, so it's a pretty small area. But invariably, he always ends up in the living room. And between the kitchen and the living room is a flight of stairs. And so he's out of eyesight, he's out of earshot. And we feel that that is a dangerous situation. The addition would solve that by this being a sunroom that's open to the kitchen, so we could keep an eye on our son when we're cooking, etc. Also, the garage situation. So it's a 2-car garage. There's a bay here and a bay here. And the only way into the house is through an existing door that's give or take right here. So we feel that that's dangerous currently because this garage bay is incredibly shallow. And so if you park over here, it's physically difficult. You know, you could imagine carrying a car seat or a 2-year-old or whatever around this car and then up this little couple of stairs and into the house. It's just very, very tight. So our proposed addition would solve that problem by providing an entrance into the house through the rear of the garage that could be safely accessed from both garage bays. And finally, the room above the garage, excuse me, is finished and it's a playroom, but the only access to it currently is through the garage. And so children would have to exit from this kitchen through this door, around the car, up through past, you know, snow blowers, gas cans, whatever, dangerous equipment in the garage to get to this stairwell in order to access the playroom above the garage. And again, this addition, while modest in size, would also solve that issue by providing access to that staircase through the inside of the house. And so in sum, we feel that nobody would be able to see this besides us. It's supported by the neighbors on all sides, and we feel like it would improve the safety of our home for our growing family, and improve the livability of our home. And so I'm going to stop there. Happy to go through floor plans or answer any other questions. But again, thanks for the time and thanks for the consideration.
You have someone with you?
Yes, our general contractor, Duncan, has joined the call. I don't think he has any prepared
Yes.
remarks, but happy to.
Good evening.
Good
Hi.
evening.
Let's, can we get rid of the share screen?
Sure.
So Dan, one thing I was wondering, as you said, there was a previous relief granted with respect to this property back in 2014 by the Board of Appeals. We granted a special permit to allow, I think, the reconstruction of the garage. And one thing I was wondering was, you submitted a plot plan, which is great, and showing the setbacks and all that. What about the architecture of the addition? Is that gonna match the existing structure, or is there gonna be any differences?
It will be matched as best as possible. So I think the most noteworthy part about the aesthetic of the exterior house is clapboard. So the siding will be the exact same. And then along the roof line of the addition, Duncan, our general contractor, is putting in a trim detail that will match the exposed rafter tails on the rest of the house.
And is this addition gonna be one story or two?
One story.
Okay. One thing that I wanted to mention, the building inspector in his letter said that you needed a variance from the Board of Appeals. It's not the first time he's done that, but that's not really correct. And he referred to the previous relief as being the granting of a variance, but in fact, what was granted was a special permit. Your property is what's called non-conforming, meaning that it was built before the zoning setback requirements were adopted, and therefore it doesn't conform to the new requirements, but it was legal at the time it was built. And so it's considered a pre-existing non-conforming structure. And under the state law and the town bylaws, you can extend or alter a non-conforming structure by special permit, unless it would be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what currently exists. So that's the standard we have to apply. And especially that it's good for you because a special permit is much easier to get than a variance. The legal standard for a variance is much more strict, but that doesn't apply here.
Thank you for that clarification. Apologies that I did not know that coming in.
Well, if you're not a lawyer or land use expert, you probably wouldn't know.
No, not at all.
So often we would want to schedule a site visit, but I'm not sure we'll need that here. We can see what the board thinks. What I want to do at this point is see if members of the board have questions or comments. Board members?
No. Okay.
Laverne?
Well, it appears that this addition isn't even going to be seen by anybody. It's behind the house and there's trees and whatever on the other side. I walk by that house every week when I take a walk. So for the sake of 2 feet or 1 foot and 11 inches, I think it'll be fine. Be fine with me.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Laverne.
Nadir, you have any thoughts?
No, I thought the difference there was even less. I thought it was like 0.2 inches. So this seems to be a very minor, kind of impact to the side, and it's frankly already non-conforming lot, so that it feels no site visit necessary. This feels like a pretty straightforward matter.
Yeah, it goes from 28.3 to 28.1 because the house, the garage isn't quite parallel to the side lot line, so that's pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Nancy?
I agree. I think it's minimal, and I think it's going to make your life a lot easier, Dan. You and your wife to maneuver around your house. The fact that you have to go around the car to get to another room is just amazing to me. Good for you.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see any way you can say this is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what exists now. And obviously you've got a letter from the abutting neighbors saying that they're all in favor. So I don't see any reason to deny relief here. Does anybody else?
No.
Any more questions of Mr. Cook or the general contractor? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Any further discussion? Anything anybody else anybody wants to say?
Nope.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to grant a special permit.
So moved.
Anybody second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Mr. Cook, there, just for your, just to make it official, on the record, what counts when we have all three full members of the board present, as we do, is a unanimous vote by them, which you have. We also solicit the views of the associate members, and Nancy is in favor as well. So we have approved your request. What'll happen is that the board will file with the town clerk a written decision. We make the required findings and and formally record the vote of the board. That gets filed with the town clerk. There is an appeal period of 20 days. If anyone wants to oppose the special permit, they have 20 days in which to file the lawsuit. Once the 20 days has passed, the town clerk will issue a notice saying whether or not anyone has challenged our ruling. And if there is no challenge, then you're entitled to get a special permit, a building permit from the building inspector.
Understood. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your time.
So we'll get the decision down to the town clerk fairly. This is a pretty easy one, so we should be able to get it there fairly quickly, sometime in the next week or so. And once that's filed with the town clerk, the 20 days will start. And once it's up, I think you'll probably have your permit.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome, and good luck with the project.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank
everyone.
Yes.
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you. Nice to
Sure.
see you all. Have a good night.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.
So everybody, I think that does it for us. There's no other matters on the agenda. Just be sure to pick up your copies of the plans that have been filed on the 40B and take a look at them. And then I've sent all that stuff to our peer review consultants, and they'll get to work on reviewing it and give us their feedback before our next hearing, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving in the meantime.
I wonder what happened to Mike.
I don't know. I'll send him an email and
I
ask
forgot.
him what happened. But
Maybe stuck in traffic.
fortunately, this was an easy one and not the 40B, and so no big deal.
Yeah. No big deal. All right. Good night.
Have a great night.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Good night.
You too. Good night.